Okay, this video we're going to go over the true power of Sling PPC software and the best way to use it. And we'll get into a little detail here. So with this software, you can create SKAG campaigns, which is single keyword ad group campaigns. And as I mentioned in a previous video, this is going to help your quality score, and the higher your quality score gets, the lower your PPC costs are going to be. This is going to allow us to quickly do single keyword campaigns, single country targeting campaigns for people in your target location only, single device targeting, choice of network distribution, single audience targeting, choice of bidding strategy, other than what Bing and Google use as a default, which costs you more money. This is going to save you money. And the choice of search network only, which also is different than the defaults. So this will save you money too. And ad schedule. And if you remember from the last video, ad schedule can save you a lot of money. So what does an example campaign look like? Well, I like to create what I call campaign clusters. So I'm going to create at least 21 different campaigns for the same set of keywords. All right, 21 campaigns for the same set of keywords. Now, this is something you would never do manually, because it just takes too long to create a campaign manually. When Bing and Google came up with these platforms, their idea was to create an all-encompassing campaign, and then let the users go through reports the following day of what happened the previous day in their account. And while that's okay, it definitely works, you have to already be an expert to realize what's going on, and this usually makes people's eyes glaze over and people don't want to do it. It's very difficult, it's very confusing, and nobody wants to go through that every day. So that's why we came up with this software, because we want to create very, very narrow campaigns to, number one, make it easy for ourselves, number two, to save ourselves money, and number three, not to have to deal with those pesky and confusing reports every day. So here's what my idea campaign looks like. I'm going to do an exact match campaign, exact match keyword campaign. So I'm going to take a list of however many keywords. We'll say 1,000, and I'm going to hyper target the US for one campaign. I'm going to hyper target Australia for one campaign. I'm going to hyper target a Canadian campaign and one for the UK. And I'm going to do one for smartphones, one for desktop, and one for tablets, also for each one of these countries. Do you see what I'm saying? You're going to do an exact match campaign, and you're going to have one for the US for smartphones. You're going to have another one for the US for desktop. You're going to have another one for the US for tablets. Okay, and then Australia, you're going to have an exact match campaign that also targets smartphones. And then another Australian exact match campaign for desktop. And then you're going to have another exact match campaign for Australia for tablets. You see how this is going so narrow? It's very granular. It's really easy to do with this software. Again, this is not something you want to do with manually creating these campaigns. And then you just rinse and repeat. And I'll probably change this up a little bit so you can get a better understanding of it. And I'll do that, and we'll come back and I'll edit all this so it'll look a little bit different than it does now. You'll repeat the same thing for phrase, and you'll repeat the same thing for broad match. Okay? Now there are some things that you need to know. you're always going to need to use a negative keyword list for the other two matches that you're not targeting. Okay, so if I'm doing an exact match campaign targeting people in the US for smartphones only, then I'm going to create a negative keyword list for the phrase match of all of my keywords. And I'm also going to create a negative keyword list for the broad match keywords, the entire list. Now, why do we do that? We do that because we want to tell the algorithm that under no circumstances, when we're running an exact match campaign, do we want you to show our ads for phrase match and broad match of this keyword, any keyword. Okay, so we're telling the algorithm, do not send us any phrase match campaign, any phrase match keywords, searchers. Don't send us any broad match searchers for an exact match campaign. Now, logic says if you're running an exact match campaign only, that the platform will not send you anything other than exact match campaign. However, that's not true. It doesn't exactly work like that. And that's where negative keyword lists come into play. A negative keyword list will ensure that the algorithm doesn't send you anything other than exact match campaigns. Okay? So that's why we're going to use negative keyword lists for the other two match types. And you always want to make bid adjustments to eliminate spending on other devices. When you are creating, let's say, an exact match campaign targeting people in the US for smartphones, you're going to want to go into your Bing account, and this is something we're going to try to work into the software if we can. I'm not even sure if we can yet. But you want to go into your Bing account, and you're going to make a negative bid adjustment for these two devices. Okay, as an example, we're going to go into this campaign, and we're going to go to Settings, and we're going to scroll down to Advanced Campaign Settings, and we're going to click Device, and here you can see the bid adjustment. You can increase the desktop bid. Now let's just go back and take a look at which one we're running. So we're running an exact match campaign in the US for smartphones. Okay. So desktop bid, we don't want desktop traffic, right? So we're going to decrease by, I think we can do 900%. No, I think it's 100%. So we want to decrease desktop bid by 100%. Means we don't want to spend a single dime, not a single penny, on desktop traffic. And we're going to do the same with tablets. Decrease by 100%. It must be between negative 100. I'm going to get some clarification on this. Well, looks like we're getting clarification now. So you just use decrease by 100%. Now, smartphone, this is going to be, if we're going to increase any, we're going to get into this a little later. But I will say this, until you know exactly what you're doing and you've gotten to a point where you truly understand what it means to increase your bid percentage, don't do it. Just leave it at 0. This means that whatever bid you're using that you set in the software is exactly what's going to be followed. This is all about making Bing ads. What this software is all about is making Bing ads easier, and Google ads as well, and just making 100% sure that you're not wasting any money. That's what all of this is all about. So just leave if you're running a smartphone bid for an exact match keyword campaign to people in the US, just put these at decrease by 100, your desktop bid and your tablet bid, and leave this one at 0. And then all you have to do is scroll down and click save, and everything will be fine. Once you become more proficient and you advance some in your knowledge and experience, you may want to use that feature a little differently than what I'm describing here today, but that'll come for you later on down the road. All right, and just to wrap it up here, I'm going to go over the benefits for doing it this way. This is going to eliminate confusing reporting and the need to even spend the hours that it takes to set those up. It's going to allow you to quickly see which of the variables that are making the most money for you and where your budget should be spent. That's part of the management process when you're running PPC. You don't just throw a campaign up and let it run and hope it's profitable. You have to do different things and you find out what's working the best. So if you find out that smartphones, people in the US, are making with an exact match keyword are making you the most money, you might want to not delete, but pause all these other 20-something campaigns and put your entire budget into doing it on these 3 metrics. That's what this is all about. We're trying to isolate what's working best for us so we can concentrate our ad budget on that particular campaign. And we'll run that campaign until we know that we can't make any more money with it. Then we can go back and unpause these other campaigns and go through the process of making them as profitable as possible. Every campaign you run can be profitable, but you want to get the most out of your first campaign that you can. And that's why we're doing things the way that we're doing. Software is going to eliminate 7.5 hours of work, including building the campaigns manually and avoiding the custom reports. And software is going to eliminate, by doing things this way, it's going to help you to eliminate about 3.5 hours a day of reading custom reports and then logging the information somewhere where you can see it, take a glance at it over time. Like I said, when you do it this way, the campaign itself is going to give you the stats that you need to see at a quick glance, rather than having to go through a spreadsheet that has 30 different columns in it of things that you need to look at and then write it down in a more simplified version, which is what I call a log, to make it so you can understand it and start making adjustments. So that's the power, and that's how we're going to use, or how I'm going to show you to use Sling PPC. Now, you can use Sling PPC in many different ways. If you're an advanced user already, you don't have to do it this way. You can do it any way you like. If you like reading complicated reports, you like creating those custom reports, you can do that if you want to. The software will do all those things for an advanced user, just like it'll do all these things for a new user or somebody new to PPC. So it's very flexible. What I'm doing in this video series is showing the new people how to do 2 things: make it as easy as possible and save as much money as possible while making every campaign profitable. So that's what we're really after, and that's the whole idea behind using Sling PPC.